Good morning, children. In this series of competitive English, we are continuing the error finding in verbs. Let us talk about first some of the questions, typical questions that can be asked in exams of all classes. Like the question is, the police think that he may be there yesterday at the scene of crime. The police think or thought that he may be there yesterday at the scene of the crime. Obviously, the error is may. May will change into might because the past form of may is might. Why I am saying? Because whenever you write a complex sentence having a reporting verb, and whenever the word yesterday comes or day before yesterday comes, definitely there will be a past tense. So the right answer is the police think or thought that he might be there yesterday. Second question, he may live long with exclamation sign, he said to his mother. May he live long, because when you are using an exclamatory sentence and expressing your prayer or your desire for somebody, your wishes for somebody, then it will start like auxiliary plus subject plus verb. May he live long, exclamation sign, he said to his mother. The exclamatory sentence which is expressing prayer will begin with may he live long with exclamation sign. Third question, he returned the purse though he could keep it very easily. He returned the purse though he could have kept it very easily. वो रख सकता था लेकिन रिटर्न कर दिया. सेंस आ रहा है फ्यूचर परफेक्ट का. फ्यूचर परफेक्ट का फॉर्मेट है सब्जेक्ट प्लस कुड, वुड, शुड, माइट plus have plus V3. So the right answer is that he returned the purse though he could have kept it easily. Though he could have kept it easily. फ्यूचर परफेक्ट में हमेशा सब्जेक्ट प्लस विल, वुड, माइट, कुड, शुड प्लस हैव प्लस V3 हमेशा पास्ट पार्टिसिपल हैव के बाद होता है. नेक्स्ट क्वेश्चन, we ought to honest in our dealings. Actually, ought is always followed by to plus infinitive. So the right answer is we ought to be honest. See, ought to, need to, should, must always is followed by be plus adjective. Like we ought to be punctual, we ought to be simple, we ought to be disciplined, we must be disciplined, we should be disciplined. So whenever we use such sentences, ought to be, need to be, passive form of the verb we use. Ought to be disciplined, ought to be punctual, ought to be disciplined. Ought is always followed by to plus be plus V3. Are you used to get up early? This sentence is absolutely wrong. The right answer is, do you used to get up early? Because there is no question of using here auxiliary RN. Very soon I realized that he is at fault. Very soon I realized that he was at fault. Because when you are using reporting verb simple past tense, very soon he realized. Realized is simple past tense. Then the second clause will also be in past tense. Very soon I realized that he was at fault. So is will be changed into was. Whenever we write a complex sentence and the reporting verb is in past tense, the reported speech will also be in past tense. Like he said that he was at fault. He said that he was at fault. He said that he was at fault. Next question, he remembered that his visa will be expired in a month. Actually will change into would. Again it is reporting verb remembered, past tense. So when the reporting verb is in past tense, the reported speech will also be in past tense. And what is the past form of will? Would. So he remembered that his visa would be expired in a month. So these are some of the important corrections. Now let us talk about why should we use such kind of a structure, the discussions of this. The very first formula in verb form is that whenever you begin a sentence in the exclamatory sentence expressing some surprise or some kind of amusement or some kind of happiness, then it will be like that. What a pleasure it is. What a pleasure it is to be with you. What a pleasure it is It is. What a pleasure it is to be with you! Exclamation sign. What a beautiful flower the rose is! Exclamation sign. But the second type of errors that comes in verb is that of the complex sentences. When you begin the reporting verb in past tense, mind it, the reported speech will also be in past tense. Like he remembered that he was at fault. वहाँ is लगाने की जरूरत नहीं है. अगर रिपोर्टिंग वर्ब पास्ट टेंस में है तो रिपोर्टेड स्पीच भी पास्ट टेंस में. अगर रिपोर्टिंग वर्ब प्रेजेंट टेंस में तब आप विल का यूज कीजिएगा. जैसे he realizes that he is at fault. That is correct. And the last correction that I discussed today was that whenever you write sentences in in the form of a simple sentence, like you see this one, ought to, need to, must, has to be, have to be, it will be followed by a verb in the past participle form. They say he has to be corrected, he has to be modified, it has to be rectified, it need to be rectified, it must be rectified, it must be corrected, she must be channelized, she must be guided. All these, such kind of sentences where you are using passive form, there will be a past participle. Otherwise you simply say you must, like that. You must not, in negative form, you must not delay the matter, you must not hide the fact, you must not says something wrong, you must not tell a lie, like that. You ought to tell a truth, you ought to believe so, like that. When you are using a simple sentence, not using a passive form, then simply say you ought to guide us, you ought to help us, you ought to ought to be punctual, you ought to be right, you ought to be disciplined, like that. So ought is always followed by to be, and sometimes ought to have is also followed by v3, like you ought to have done this, you ought to have asked me, you ought to have guided me, or you ought to have explained it, you ought to have done that, you ought to have explored that, you ought to have experimented that, like that. So these are some of the explanations of today's assignment. Thank you very much. I am sure this will help the students in error finding. This is Edising on the channel is English by Edising YouTube channel, your channel. Thank you.